I still remember the sound of their laughter. It wasn't the kind that fades after a few minutes, it was the kind that brands itself into your chest, echoing long after the moment ends. It happened on the last day of senior year. The gym smelled like balloons, sweat, and cheap confetti. Everyone was celebrating, snapping photos in their shiny gowns and college sweatshirts. And there I was, standing off to the side, holding a thin envelope that wasn't an acceptance letter.
It was a hospital bill. My mom's hospital bill. I once had dreams, big ones.
I wanted to be an engineer, to build things that mattered. But dreams, I learned, came with a price tag I couldn't afford. My dad walked out when I was 9, and Mom worked double shifts at a diner just to keep us afloat. When she got sick, everything we had, every single dollar, went into her treatments. So when people talked about college, I could only smile weakly and shake my head.
That's when they laughed.
A group of guys from my class, led by Ethan Cole. He was everything I wasn't, rich, confident, already accepted to Stanford. His father owned a major tech company downtown, Cole Dynamics. Ethan smirked when he saw me. "Wait," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're not going to college?"
What? You think the world needs another janitor?
The laughter that followed felt like daggers. I tried to force a laugh, but my throat was tight. Ethan stepped closer, patting my shoulder.
Don't worry, man.
"Maybe one day you can work for me. I'll even let you clean my office for free." They roared with laughter. I just stood there, silent, angry, humiliated. That night, I sat beside Mom's hospital bed. The rhythmic beeping of the monitors was the only sound in the room. She looked fragile, her skin pale, her hand trembling as she reached for mine. "I know you wanted more," she said softly. "But your path doesn't have to look like theirs.
You're smart, James.
You'll find your way." At that time, I didn't believe her. But those words, "you'll find your way," became my anchor. My fire. My reason. After graduation, I took whatever jobs I could find. Washing cars, stocking shelves, fixing broken computers people tossed out. At night, I'd sneak into the public library, using their computers to teach myself how to code. I lived off instant noodles and determination. The librarian, Mrs. Parker, started recognizing me. "You're here more than I am," she joked one evening. "Just trying to learn something useful," I said.
She smiled.
"Then learn to solve problems, James. That's what the world pays for."
So I did.
For a year, I devoured everything: HTML, JavaScript, Python, design principles, business strategy. Eventually, I began offering cheap web development gigs online. $50 here, $100 there. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Meanwhile, Ethan and his friends were out living the dream: college parties, internships, luxury vacations. I'd scroll through their photos late at night, bitterness curling in my chest like smoke. But instead of letting it poison me, I used it. I whispered to myself, "I'll make something they can't ignore." My first startup failed miserably. It was an app for small business inventory tracking. I poured every cent into it, sold my old car, maxed out my credit cards, and it crashed. No users. No investors. No hope. The night it went offline, I sat in my tiny apartment, staring at the blank screen and hearing Ethan's laughter in my head. For a moment, I almost believed it. Maybe I was meant to fail. Then I heard my mom's voice again, like a whisper through time: "You'll find your way." I started over. Freelancing, saving every dollar, studying everything I could. I learned marketing, UX design, business models, human psychology, anything that gave me an edge. I started to notice patterns: how companies lost money through inefficiencies, how startups died because they didn't understand people. That's when my second idea was born. A local mechanic shop asked if I could build a scheduling system. They were losing clients because their appointments were a mess. I built them a simple tool that automated their bookings and reminders. Within 3 months, their revenue doubled.
Word spread.
Soon, small businesses started calling me: cafes, salons, repair shops. I realized they all had the same problem: they couldn't afford expensive software. They didn't need flashy systems, they needed affordable, smart tools. So I created Nexify Solutions, Next for the future, EFA for transformation. It started as a name written in marker on an old notepad, but to me, it was a promise.
I worked 18-hour days.
I skipped birthdays, holidays, and every distraction. Sleep was optional, success wasn't. By the 5th year, Nexify had grown. I hired 2 brilliant developers from the local community college. Guys like me with raw talent and no fancy degrees. Together, we built a suite of digital tools for small businesses: scheduling apps, data dashboards, CRM systems. We pitched to investors, got rejected dozens of times. But finally, a small venture fund out of Chicago took a chance on us. $150,000 in seed funding. It might as well have been $1 billion. We scaled quickly, built better tools, hired a team, expanded to clients across 3 states. I'll never forget the day I signed the lease for our first real office. It wasn't big, but the glass doors had my name on them. I stood there, touching the door, whispering, "One day they'll know my name." But success isn't a straight climb, it's a storm. With money came chaos, deadlines, burnout, competition. We lost a major contract, and I had to lay off half my team. I spent sleepless nights questioning everything. Then I met Richard Lang, a retired CEO I'd connected with online. He'd built and sold multiple companies. I told him my story, my failures, my dream. He listened quietly, then said, "You've got grit, James. Grit builds empires. Let's rebuild." Under his mentorship, I restructured Nexify, introduced subscription models, streamlined operations, and focused on scalable growth. Within a year, our revenue tripled. We were finally thriving. Then one morning, I saw a headline that stopped me cold. Coal Dynamics faces financial scandal amid CEO misconduct. Ethan's father, once the powerful Richard Cole, had been accused of embezzlement. The company was collapsing. Stock prices were crashing. The empire that once looked invincible was crumbling before my eyes. I laughed, not out of spite, but disbelief. The universe had a wicked sense of humor. But as the shock faded, an idea sparked, a wild, impossible idea. I called a few investors I'd worked with. We ran the numbers. Coal Dynamics was bleeding money, yes, but its patents, tech assets, and client base were still valuable. The company was salvageable. It took a year of negotiations, legal filings, and sleepless nights. But when the dust settled, it was done. Nexify Solutions acquired a controlling share of Coal Dynamics. The company that once belonged to Ethan's father, the empire that had mocked me from a distance, was now mine. The day the deal was finalized, I sat in my office, pen in hand, staring at the contract. My name was printed at the bottom, James Miller, CEO. My hand trembled as I signed. 10 years ago, I couldn't afford a college application fee. Now, I owned a multimillion-dollar corporation. The following Monday, I scheduled a meeting at Coal Dynamics headquarters, a towering glass building downtown. The air buzzed with whispers about the new owner. Employees filled the auditorium. And there he was, Ethan Cole, sitting in the second row, now just a mid-level manager. When our eyes met, his face went pale. I stepped onto the stage. "Good morning, everyone," I began. "My name is James Miller. I'm the new owner and CEO of Coal Dynamics."
Silence.
Then murmurs rippled through the room. Ethan blinked hard, like he couldn't process what he was hearing.
"James," he muttered.
"You're the CEO?"
I smiled.
"Actually, I'm the owner. The CEO title just came with the package."
A few people chuckled. Ethan didn't.
I continued, my voice steady. 10 years ago, I was told that people like me don't make it far. That hard work without privilege was pointless. But here's what I've learned. Talent means nothing without persistence, and persistence beats privilege every time. I built Nexify from nothing.
No degree.
No investors.
No help. Just belief.
And now I'm here, not to gloat, but to rebuild this company into something that matters. For the dreamers.
The fighters.
The ones no one believed in.
Applause filled the room.
Ethan just stood there, silent, shrinking. After the meeting, he approached me privately. "James," he started, eyes low.
"About high school."
I raised a hand.
"Don't. It's in the past."
He nodded, but I could see the weight of his regret. As he turned to leave, I added, "By the way, I've reviewed your department's reports.
You're underperforming.
Fix it, or I'll find someone who will."
His face flushed.
"You're firing me?" "Not yet," I said calmly. "But I expect results now, not excuses." He walked away without a word. I didn't feel triumph or hatred, just peace. Closure. Months later, I visited my mom's grave. The leaves rustled gently as I placed a bouquet of lilies on the stone. The company was thriving again. I'd even started a scholarship program for kids who couldn't afford college. Kids like I once was. I whispered, "You were right, Mom." I found my way. The memory of their laughter came back to me then.
But it didn't sting anymore.
It sounded distant, like an old echo from a life I'd outgrown. Revenge, I realized, isn't always about tearing others down. Sometimes, it's about building yourself so high that those who once mocked you have no choice but to look up. As the wind brushed across the graveyard, I smiled. Because the boy they laughed at for being poor was now the man who bought their company. You just heard a story of betrayal, survival, and quiet revenge. If it left you thinking, hit like, share it forward, and subscribe for more true emotional stories that'll stay with you long after they end. Every click helps another story find its voice.